Hey! So I realized I haven't done any Plymouth books in a while. And so I just came across this book that I had a week or two ago. And since it was Thanksgiving yesterday, I thought I would read it. And it's called 3 Visitors to Early Plymouth. And it's a collection of letters. And it's only 80 pages long, so it's a really quick read. The funny thing is, I had started to read this back in the spring, and I left it in a bag that I wasn't using for a long time, and then I went to get something out of the bag, and I found the book. I had completely forgotten that I was reading this book, so that might tell you something about it. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this. You'd have to be really into history or Plymouth, or not even really genealogy, because the people writing the letters were just visiting Plymouth. So if you were trying to find your family connections to Plymouth, this isn't really going to be helpful, but I mean, it might be interesting to you in a way. All the letters kind of basically say the same thing over and over. So, if you've been following along, the first book I did was Mort's Relation, and then the second book I did was The Good News from New England. It was a book by Winslow. I think it's called The Good News from New England. I think. Which I really liked that one. But both of those books have this kind of adventurous feel, and there's like a story, and things happen. Not much happens in these letters, any of these letters. These letters are very more descriptive. So if you want to get like a nice picture of what Plymouth looked like in the 1620s, I mean, you could read this. So the 3 people that wrote the letters are John Pory, Emmanuel Altham, and Isaack, forgive me on this, Isaack Rasieres. I don't know how to say his name. And I believe Emmanuel Altham was a part of the company, but he lived over in England, and he was coming to check it out, and he was I believe he was the one that was very enamored of the Pilgrims. Yeah, so Altham was very impressed with the Pilgrims here in Plymouth, and he was really hoping to move here, but it didn't really work out for him, so that was a bit interesting. The first guy, John Pory, he really got into the foods that they had, which, I mean, if I was writing a letter, I think food would probably be my topic as well, you know? It was kind of interesting. He made it sound really delicious. I mean, an eel doesn't really sound that appetizing to me, but the way he went on and on about those eels, sounded kind of good, but I still wouldn't eat an eel. Always check your memory card before you start making a video, because the memory card ran out. So now I have to try and remember what I said. So I was talking about the food. All of them, I think all 3 of them, 2 of them anyways, mentioned the grapes of Plymouth. I don't know of any special Plymouth grapes, so I don't know if they still grow here, but I would love to try wild Plymouth grapes. They sounded really good. Really good. John Pory did mention Billington Sea, obviously not by name, but he did mention it, so another reference to Billington Sea in literature, yay. That was cool. And then Altham kind of briefly mentioned a master salt maker that came over on the ship, the Anne. I would love to hear more about this. Maybe it's of Plymouth Plantation. I don't know, but I want to find out about this person, because he was talking about what a failure the salt maker was. The master salt maker was a failure. That sounds like a story, doesn't it? I want to know about the failure salt maker, who only got over here because he said he was a master at making salt, but he didn't know what he was doing. One thing I was surprised to learn about was that according to Poury, no, it was Altham. According to Altham, half of Plymouth Plantation burnt down. And that was 1623 or 24, November 5th of one of those years. I'm not sure what year. 'Cause the letter said 1623/1624, November 5th. Half of the plantation burnt down. But the footnote said he was being kind of dramatic, and it wasn't that serious. I didn't know about that, though. That was interesting, too. Yep. Isaac. I'm just calling him Isaac because I can't say his last name. His letter was the longest, but it also had the least to do, unfortunately, with Plymouth. He was just kind of traveling and writing an account of his travels in his letters. Yeah, so it was a really long letter, but only the last 4 or so pages, I think. It wasn't a lot. It was only a little tiny bit about Plymouth. The first big chunk of his letter, I believe it was New York. Obviously, it wasn't New York at the time. But it was about the Native Americans there and the land. And then there's like a big section of the letter missing, they believe, like 4 pages. And then he gets to Plymouth. So we don't even know why he was going to Plymouth exactly. He just showed up, and then there wasn't that much information, I didn't think. So yeah, as you can tell, I wasn't really that taken with this book. I'm glad I read it, but I don't think I'll read it again. But maybe you would like to read it. So that's all I have to say about this one. I'll see you at some point for another Plymouth book. I think I'm gonna try and do a Plymouth Plantation next. Although I bought the town records of Plymouth, which start in like 1640. It's 3 volumes. It goes up, I think it goes up through the 1800s. I don't know how interesting that'll be to read, but I'm gonna read it. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.